Hi guys, Dwayne Bill McGrath here. I was asked recently in one of my videos about the practicality of the backhand uppercut, Pekiti-Tirsia terms of the diagonals, a number 4 cut with a short machete like this. This is a 12-inch bladed cold steel Black Bear Bowie, I believe the model name is. It's a good question, so it deserves to be answered in some depth. Let's get into it. So, two factors you want to think of on evaluating a cut with a certain tool are the tools and the target. So looking at tools, we have 2 cold steel 12-inch bladed Bowie style machetes, and generally you want to hit at the point of percussion. The point of percussion on most Bowie knives with a swedge is just behind where the swedge begins, or the widest part of the blade. And you'll see with the Bowie machete, their standard Bowie machete with no guard, they have a longer clip point or swedge, and I have a line marked where that begins, and you're generally hitting at an area just behind that, and I've marked with a quarter. The Black Bear Bowie with the shorter swedge, and also with the design that starts narrow and goes out, flares out as you get towards the beginning of the swedge, you gain about an inch of reach with its point of percussion compared to the narrower standard Bowie machete in the 12-inch blade. So, one factor to think about: where is your point of percussion on the blade? How much reach or effective reach you have? And effective reach is kind of like in ballistics with a firearm. Yeah, you might be able to shoot that bullet a mile, but how far can you hit a target realistically? It may be, 22, you can, if you angle it up 45 degrees, you may be able to go a mile. But realistically, can you get much beyond 100 yards with that target, let's say? So you're really looking for a cut, the maximum effective range to get a good power cut with these are inside or just inside the point of percussion. So, something to keep in mind. So after which tool you're using, now you have to think about what targets are useful for that tool at that angle. So, we're looking at the backhand uppercut, right? So our 1 and 2 are diagonal downs in Pekiti-Tirsia, have gravity helping you, and you're using the latissimus dorsi muscle or pectoral muscle, a large muscle group to deliver. Even on the uppercut, you have some pectoral here involved, so you have a good hit. But that backhand is mostly done with the deltoid. So a smaller muscle group, you don't get as much power. Question is, do you get enough power to do damage for specific targets? So here's our targets for this. I tend to like uppercuts with a short machete like this, or short blade, into the inside aspect of the forearms. Large muscle belly, big nerves, arteries, etc. in there. In a backhand cut, a rising backhand, right? 2 areas to get that angle. If you're both going from the draw here on a backhand, like a cross draw, and we'll assume, okay, he's a right-handed opponent, and as he's drawing, his form is oriented like this. I don't have good arms yet for Bob. So, if we're both going to the draw and I come out from a cross draw, I can get a decent cut on that forearm to get a sufficient cut here. Possibly, if there's no winter clothing or anything impeding it, a full cut down to the bone and disable his grip totally. And if he's on guard and both arms are up, instead of uppercutting to the outside of his weapon arm, I'll go to the inside of his support arm, the left arm. So my cut would be there. So in the sequence I showed in the basic video, I'm just doing 1, 2, 3, 4 to show angles. But the targets you're hitting would be what's the best target to use with that tool. So basically we're going to the inside aspect of the forearms. If we're both on the draw, I would do that from draw, like a quick draw, right? If the situation happens. And a lot of these in the Learning Through Comparison series are mental exercises as well as actual techniques. So where would I use this? How would I plug this technique in with this tool against an opponent doing these things, right? Where would I use it? So I would use this as a backhand if we're both going for our blades in cross draw, and I would use it against his support hand on the inside aspect of his left hand, which would be angled here for him, right? So 2 targets for a rising backhand with a 12-inch machete. So let's compare uppercuts, both the 3 and the 4 line, with the 12-inch buoys on this log here, suspended log. It's hanging by a pivot. So your 3 with the pectoral muscle engaged, some bicep, right? You're coming up, and then your 4, let's try to get that stationary, and I'm hitting just behind the point of percussion, basically. Your 4, you know, you get a good hit. You still get, you know, the question is it as much as a forehand? No. Is it enough? So that's the question you want to ask. So let's check some other blades out. So here is the standard 12-inch buoy machete from Cold Steel, and again I'm cutting down at the point of percussion and below. So an uppercut, and then a backhand uppercut. You do get force there. I would say with the sharp blade, sufficient force to disable the arm, but you don't get as much reach as the point of percussion comes back towards the handle, right? Here's my old barong machete from Cold Steel, the 12-inch version, which they don't make anymore. They should. And you have a lower point of percussion on that than you do on even the standard 12-inch buoy. But this is my favorite 12-inch machete because it's a good chopper. And I have, you know, a single edge across the back here, which is more practical for, you know, survival use, let's say. Anyway, so uppercut from here, you know, good uppercut, of course, but I have to hit, you know, about halfway down the blade, so you have less reach, which is, you know, hitting halfway down the blade when you're chopping wood is not a big deal. If you're using it for self-defense, then you're losing some reach. So depends what you're using the blade for. So an idea of your backhand uppercuts, or number 4 in Pekiti-Tirsia terminology. So just one more quick follow-up. The gentleman also asked about thrusting on the 4 line. So we're dealing with 4 diagonals here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And he asked, instead of slashing on the 4 with the machete, can you thrust on the 4, on the 4 line, that uppercut line? Yes, you can. And what I usually show in my classes is, you know, after every slash, then you have a thrust, what targets are best body mechanic wise for those thrusts. But I don't like to start with thrusts with this size blade, because it tends to, you know, you're really committed on a thrust. It's you know, it's going to go in the body if you're successful on the thrust, and meanwhile you're closer to the opponent. Will the thrust stop him instantly? Possibly, possibly not. You know, you might be thrusting at him, let's say going in the plexus, up into the heart. Meanwhile, his shot is coming down at you, and you might, you know, both kill each other instantaneously. So I've seen too many cases where people get terrible wounds. Back when I was a court officer, I was working in the academy on occasion, and, you know, we get reports from NYPD, and they talk about people getting horrendous wounds. One bad guy was hit in the chest with a shotgun, 12 gauge, double buck, ran 40 yards. The coroner's report said the heart was shredded. Now you have to ask, how many times can that guy stab me in the time it takes to run 40 yards? If he has diminished intellectual capacity, let's say over those 40 yards, if we're at this kind of range, does he have enough mental capacity to stab me at least once back? Probably. So I'd rather not start with thrusts in a tool that you can very successfully hacks and disable and break bones, and then escape and stay away from his weapon itself. So another factor to think about. Okay, thank you guys. Train hard, but train smart.